And then nothing.
There wasn't even an error that said.
I'm kind of curious. I'm honestly kind of curious if something was up with Verizon because I sent you back that remind message that said, like, half my way home, I had no service. That never happens. And then when I got home, I only had like one bar. And I've got Verizon. So I was like, okay, something up with Verizon or what? Like I said, I'll mess with it later and see what's going on. Yeah, because that was weird. I mean, I rattled off all the troubleshooting things to you guys that I could do, you know, from memory.
Half the swim meet, we tried to fix it, it was already halfway over, we were like.
Right.
How much was it?
Right. How much is that?
Is it 35 or is it 30?
Oh, for the thing, $33.75.
I don't have 33, just take 35.
I've got change.
Oh, you got change.
Yeah, give me a sec. It's always crazy around here.
This jacket's nice. I like this jacket.
I know, they're real nice, aren't they? Let me pause this. Okay, so let's pick up on page 285. Of course, we're going to start chapter 6 today. Chapter 6 is all about creating forms on websites. You guys have seen this a lot on many websites that you've been on, I'm sure, because most shopping websites are basically a form. If you've ever taken a survey online, that is a form as well. So we're going to learn today how we can create a web page that has a form on it. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go out to Moodle and grab some files. It's not his birthday. All right. We're in chapter 6, so of course you need the chapter 6 files. You only need 2, actually. You need the Blue Waveform HTML file, and you need the Blue Wave logo, which is a picture, which is a JPEG file. So only 2 files that you need to download. Once you get that all downloaded and put in your W drive, let's go ahead and open up that Blue Waveform HTML file in TextPad. Friday for sure. Right now, Tuesday and Wednesday is looking a little iffy. I thought I was going to have to go to Vincent's, but I might not have to, which would be fine by me.
Oh, no. Yeah, you should stay. Yeah, I feel like it won't be it motivates me to work. What the fire's on?
So once we open up our Blue Wave HTML file, you can see they've already got a start here on, oh, good grief, sometimes I just really hate a Mac. They've already started the web page for us. But to be honest, this looks a little more like a print form than a form that you can fill in, because you guys see all of just the lines. So obviously, on a web page, you want to be able to have form fields that people can actually type text in. You can make pull down menus or lists that they can choose from. Sometimes you see check boxes that people can check, or buttons, and those are technically called radio buttons whenever we're creating those within a form on our web page that people can select. So we want to be able to change this up so that we have actual form fields instead of just lines where information should go. I mean, this would be fine to fill out if it was in paper form, but obviously on the web, this would be very difficult to fill out as is. Yeah.
We have something that could be classified as a parse error.
What?
So when I open it, it just says you can't reach this page.
Have you saved it?
Well, first of all, you're trying to open up an Internet Explorer, which is junk anyway.
That's locked. They left it unlocked and I had to unlock
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
it's locked.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So on page 285, you guys can see the difference between what we're starting with and then what we want our form to look like whenever we are finished. Okay, so you can see that we have actual text boxes where people can fill in first name, last name, email address. We have check boxes, we have radio buttons, we have pull down list. And then of course, always with a form, you have a submit and a reset button so that you can submit the form, or reset always clears out any fields that you already started, so that you can put in the correct information if you put in incorrect information. Now, they've also put in note comments for us so that we know where to insert different parts of the form as well. But let's go ahead and skip to page 294. And the first thing that we want to do is to actually tell the web browser when we preview this in the browser that this is a form. So that's there on line 11 where we have the notation that says insert form method statement here. So let's go ahead and select that so we can type over it or just delete it out. And at the bottom of page 294, you can see our form method is to post. So post whatever data was entered. The action, as far as where you're posting it to, in this particular example, it is to an email address. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that in. Every time you do a form, okay, you're going to need to put in a form posting method.
Also,
two after that.
it smells farty. Does it smell good?
There you go.
I bet it's the feet that you smell. Maybe it just is stinky feet.
You recording this?
Yes. On Moodle. All right, so once we finish line 11, we've got our beginning form tag with all or most tags that we have. We also have to have an ending tag as well. So I'm going to put that right above the end body tag. So you need an end form tag right above the end body tag. Okay. All right, so now we've just told the web browser everything that's between the form method and the ending form tag are going to be form fields. So now we really need to start converting everything over into that particular format. Before we do so, let's take a look at page 295. Notice on line 17, it says print the form, complete the necessary information, and fax the form to us at, and it gives a number. Well, we obviously need to change that paragraph of text because it's no longer going to be a print form. It is going to be a web-based form. So let's take out that text and let's replace it with the text they give us on page 295. All right, after we get that paragraph of text typed in, our next three sections here that are in P tags is the first name, last name, and email address. Obviously, we need to get rid of the lines. So let's begin with first name. You guys can turn to page 296. We're going to take out the line. So I'm going to select that line after first name and I'm going to delete it out. So I'm going to leave first name semicolon so that there is some sort of label, or not semicolon, but colon, so that there's some sort of label in front of the text box. All right, I'm going to put in an input tag, and when you name the input, you really want it to match what it is that you are wanting to have people fill out. So in this first field, it's obviously their first name. If you were to actually receive this form as an email, like it's set up at the top when we told it to post and post it to that email address, all of the data would come to you. If you did not have an input name that reflected the field, you'd be really confused when you were trying to figure out the information that the person had submitted. For example, if you just put 1 or 2 or thing, okay, that's not very descriptive, and then you would have text that the user put in after that. So you really want to match up the input name with what the field name is. So that's why we're naming it first name. Obviously, it's text that we want them to be able to type in the text box, and then we can establish a size as well. So this means it'll fit 25 characters when we put in the 25. And last chapter, we were introduced to the NBSP, okay, which is, we talked about like pressing the space bar. Okay, so it's going to give you 2 spaces after the text box. Okay, notice I'm going to get rid of the ending P tag as well. And now I'm ready for last name. I'm going to get rid of the beginning P tag in front of last name. And I'm also going to get rid of the line after last name along with the ending P tag. I'm going to select all of that and delete it out. Now I'm going to save myself some time, and those of you who are really slow typers should do this as well. Copy and paste what you just put in for the input for first name. Except this time, for the input name, obviously you're going to type in a last name. And the final text field that I need to edit is the email address line. So I'm going to get rid of the beginning P tag in front of email address. And then I'm going to get rid of the line, but I'm going to keep the ending P tag. Correct. All right, I'm going to copy and paste in again the input name tag. And I'm just going to update it so it says email. Type is still text, size is still 25. I do not need my NBSPs though. Okay, I'm just going to end this up with an ending P tag. Okay, so you can see that there on the screen. You can also see it on the bottom of page 296 so that you can compare, make sure yours is set up correctly. Once you click on save, we want to go out and preview what we've done so far. So let's go ahead and open up our Blue Wave Music page so we can see the 3 text boxes that we have created so far for first name, last name, and email address.
Miss Fox. Maybe I'll just go ahead and sign some servers. Because I had to wait for it. So it was open.
Why was it open? While you looked at it? Because all that blood was going actually down. Just didn't look much later. It's a cut something. Cut under.
I love the notion that you can spend upwards of $200 a month. But I spend $12 a year on my water service at more space.
Just gonna go up.
Well,
Right there.
It's as fast as it needs to be, honestly.
Oh. Hey, no, you see the close thing out? Watch this. Watch. No matter how hard I push.
I mean, they don't pay anyone.
Yeah.
Hey, Colin, don't try to do this. You don't feel it. Yeah, no, I understand.
I can't do it. Maybe it's just like, I can feel it. Yeah, but no, it's not supposed to hurt. It's just super hard, like, it's not supposed to hurt.
Probably left me out.
yeah. I've got a decent amount of overload.
So, what do you think about email address?
You gotta look at it.
Yeah, you gotta look for this, has to do with my last name. It's not gonna work.
No!
It's not gonna work.
Go back, go back, go back.
Tell the key. Pressing it. Call and fix this last time.
All right, any other problems?
Hey, that's a bad
Hey, what's up? No, he's actually absent. Or
Because I had the recruiter here, was gonna meet with him, but he's not.
Oh, no, he's never showed up for class yet. Okay, anyone else have problems with that? Okay, so that's how we add in text boxes. Let's move on to the next type of field that we're going to put in, and that is checkboxes. So let's turn to page 298. All right, the next section says circle the type or types of music that you prefer. So instead, we're going to make this checkboxes so that the user can put a check beside the type or types of music that they prefer. So let's take a look at page 298. And I'm really just going to take out these two lines that was already there. And I'm going to go ahead and start here with where they've started on page 298.
Does that not go in a P tag or something?
No, it does not go on a P tag. That's why we've got BR tags, because it's just putting in a one line space for us. Again, we're naming the input name something that makes sense with the question that we're asking or for the information that we're asking. Now, once again, once I get this first input in correctly, it's really easy to copy and then paste that for the next section. The only thing I need to make sure that I change is the value name, okay, because the first one was country, this one's going to be folk, and then the label name as well. So just be sure you're changing the value and the actual label, the text.
Does that go where that other big line was?
Does that go where the other big line was? I don't think I deleted out a line. It's just that next section after the first name, last name, and email address.
Okay, I got it.
And on the very last one, we're not going to have our little NBSP to put in a space. When we get those all typed in, we want to save what we've done so far. And then we want to go preview this in the browser so we can see if we now have checkboxes in front of the different genres of music. So we should have country, folk, Latin, pop, rap, and rock. It's also always a good idea when you're previewing these things in the browser, like the first name, last name, you know, see if you can actually fill that out. See if you can actually check the boxes. Okay, because if not, then something is wrong with your code. So it's always good when you're building and creating forms to make sure the fields work as you're going along. So not only to make sure they look right, but are they functioning? Because it could be the world's greatest looking form, but if it doesn't function, then it's really of no value. Any problems with the checkboxes? All right, let's continue on then. There's no issues. Duffy, all you do is copy and paste and change 2 words.
That's what I'm doing right now.
All right, the next section on page 299. We can see the next paragraph starts with, where do you make most of your music purchases? Okay, right now, obviously, that's just text. We need to turn this into some sort of selection where people can select. So this time, we're going to do that by adding what's called radio buttons, which are basically just circle buttons that can be selected. So they kind of work basically like a checkbox, except they're a circle that you can select. So let's go ahead and get rid of everything except where do you make most of your music purchases. We're going to keep that, along with our P tags, our beginning and ending P tag. And now we're ready to start creating this next section. So this is purchases for the input name, the type. Okay, where the type before was checkbox, this is going to be radio for radio button. Okay, this is going to be very similar to what we did with the checkboxes, where we're just going to copy and paste the first one once we know we have that in correctly. And we're just going to change the value. And we're going to change the actual text. Especially with checkboxes and radio buttons, as long as you get the first input in correctly, thank you, then you can see it's just a really quick copy and paste, change a couple of words, go to the next section. So usually these pages are fairly quick to build, especially for people who are slow at typing, because you could do a lot of copying and pasting. When you get the radio buttons completed, go ahead and save the page. And let's preview it in our browser. Make sure the radio buttons work so you can click on them. And then I want you to tell me what the difference is between a check box and a radio button, besides the shape.
You can only have one radio button selected at a time, but you have as many text boxes as you want.
Exactly. Thank you, Colin. Yes, that's true. So you can see where you would want functionality differences. You would choose to set up checkboxes when you would want people to be able to check multiple items. You would use a radio button when you want them to only be able to select one item. Okay, so a lot of people are like, well, gosh, you know, I could just randomly pick a checkbox or a radio button. They really function in the same way. No, they look like they do on the surface until you actually start using them. And the checkboxes will let you check as many as you want. Radio buttons will let you do one selection. Okay, so when designing and thinking about creating a form, you know, that's how you would decide whether you wanted to use a checkbox or you wanted to use a radio button. Okay, if you wanted to be restricted to one selection, you would use a radio button. If you wanted them to do a multiple selection, obviously you would use checkboxes. Okay, you guys, everybody understand the difference between the two and when you would use one over the other? Okay, any problems with your radio buttons? Okay, that's completely fine. I don't care about the really text. I'm more concerned about the functionality.
No, put it on the radio station, not the church.
All right, if there's no problems with the radio buttons, let's take a look at selection menus. So let's take a look at page 300. I use the term selection menu and pull down list kind of interchangeably with this. I'll probably refer to this more often than none as a pull down list more than I do a selection list, just because that's how my mind works. So in this section, we're wanting them to pull down a list and choose a favorite internet radio station. And if you want to update these to some of yours, that's completely fine. Like I said, I'm just concerned about functionality more than anything else. We also want to get rid of circle your favorite internet station, because remember, this is no longer a printed form. So it's just going to say favorite internet radio station.
Peppa, select your favorite radio station.
Yes, Duffy.
Go to extra volume.
Do you, I mean, I already told you could personalize it, so you don't have to ask me for each one, okay? Again, you can copy paste the options. That way all you have to do is change the text in between. When you're finished, of course, you want to save it, and let's preview it. Did you like that? Okay, once you preview it, the browser, make sure you can actually use the list. So it should let you select one. And we will stop there for today, unless anyone has problems. If you have problems or issues, now's the time for me to address those.
So for the